Tonight on Primetime, tensions are rising again in the Strait of Hormuz after a string of maritime incidents. US and Gulf allies are now pushing for a UN resolution while military activity in the area appears to be intensifying. Controlled standoff or wider escalation? Good evening. Tensions in the Strait of Hormuz are drawing fresh diplomatic and security responses as concerns grow over shipping and freedom of navigation through this key waterway.
Tensions are rising in the Strait of Hormuz after a series of maritime incidents renewed global concern over one of the world's most vital shipping routes. The United States and Gulf Arab nations are now drafting a UN Security Council resolution condemning Iran over alleged disruptions to navigation in the key waterway, as pressure builds to restore freedom of passage. US Ambassador to the UN, Mike Waltz, said the draft is being prepared with Bahrain, with input from Kuwait, Qatar, the United Arab Emirates and Saudi Arabia. The resolution is expected to demand that Iran stop attacks on merchant shipping, halt attempts to impose tolls, and disclose the locations of sea mines. The diplomatic push comes after a South Korean-operated cargo ship caught fire following an explosion in the strait. Seoul reported no casualties among the 24 crew members on board, and the fire has since been extinguished. US President Donald Trump blamed Iran for targeting vessels in the area and urged South Korea to join the US-led Project Freedom mission. Trump also claimed US forces had shot down 7 small boats, with US defense officials due to hold a news conference on Tuesday. The UN is still assessing the US announcement on opening a passageway, but has repeated its call for the Strait of Hormuz to be reopened.
I think we're still trying to fully understand exactly what this means. But that being said, our position remains the same, that the Strait of Hormuz needs to be reopened. Freedom of navigation needs to be reestablished.
Dujarric also warned against a return to what he called outright kinetic activity in the area, after reports of a ship being hit.
Well, joining us now is our very own Anastasia Lavrina, who's been closely monitoring security and maritime developments in the Gulf. Anastasia, very good indeed to have you with us. I mean, my goodness me, we've been here before, haven't we? Many ships, crew members, been stuck for a very long time. How serious is this current situation, though?
Indeed, we have been discussing many times the situation around the Strait of Hormuz, and we can see that the current situation is indeed very dangerous for the region and for two sides, both for the United States and for Iran. The launch of Project of Freedom by Donald Trump, we already can see the consequences, but as it was stated also there in Washington, that this operation is completely different from the operation against Iran, meaning that United States does not exclude the possibility of a new war in the region, but now the full concentration on the Strait of Hormuz. In case of the winnery by any side, specifically by Donald Trump, the negotiation process and the peace talks will be completely different, because as for now, Iran is ready to continue negotiations on a possible nuclear deal, only after the agreement to be reached by two sides and the guarantees to be provided by the American side that no any escalations to be expected against Iran in the region. So in case of any winnery by American side in the case around the Strait of Hormuz, of course the priority and the situation will be more beneficial for the American side. And just after some time since the start of this new Project of Freedom, as it was mentioned by many media sources, U.S. military destroyed 6 small Iranian boats and drones. In response to that, by the way, some of these claims are not being accepted by the Iranian side. They still decline this. But we also see how Iran attacked the United Arab Emirates with drones and missiles, and it was quite indeed very dangerous escalation, since the time of the ceasefire. American side still insist the prolongations of the ceasefire continues, and they also try to pursue the American Congress, that the ceasefire is still in place. But what is happening in the region is just minor escalation. So what we see today is that American sides try to, let's say, to separate two of these military operations, making sure that American boats and military ships can act somehow as a guarantor for other cargo ships of other countries. But we could see the reaction from the international community already, the reaction of China, let's say, because China continued to insist on the possibility to import Iranian oil. The energy cooperation between two sides, the Chinese sides continue to doing that, which is of course not in favor of the America, which is trying to somehow keep the blockade over Iran. But Chinese economy, it depends on the imported oil, and so the cooperation from these perspectives continues between two sides. But again, of course, it's not the same amount of oil as it's happened before the blockade of the Strait of Hormuz. So even the limited for the future, in case if any side can guarantee even limited access to the Strait of Hormuz, still the situation is very unpredictable, and neither side can guarantee the security for the cargo ships which is willing to pass the Strait of Hormuz.
Yeah. I mean, this freedom of navigation that the US wants, trying to take that by force just doesn't seem to be a strategy that's working very well, does it? Where it seems to be in another stalemate situation. I mean, how close are we to a security situation that would enable that freedom of movement?
I guess many global actors still rely on the peace talks between two sides, between Iran and the United States, to make sure that two sides are able to achieve any kind of the results by peaceful means. But having that kind of pressure on Donald Trump in the United States and also in the region itself, because the countries are willing to see the openness of the Strait of Hormuz, and now the Strait of Hormuz is being blocked by two sides. The blockade is continued by Iranian side and by the United States. So there is a lot of dissatisfaction by the global actors. Without smooth operation of the Strait of Hormuz, the global market still reacts very tough, and the price of the crude oil still, as for today, it's $105. It's quite significant price for many countries. That's why there is a still number of pressure against America and against Iran to push them to open the Strait of Hormuz. And Donald Trump sees this, let's say, Project Freedom as the only way to move forward, to demonstrate the power of the United States in that part of the region. We cannot ignore the fact that more than 800 ships are still in the region there, and roughly 20,000 crew. So America continued to bring more military power to the region. So through this operation, the first, America can demonstrate its military presence in the region. The second, act as a guarantor for the cargo ships for many countries. And the third, in case of the winery, America will get a priority at the peace talks process with Iran, pushing to the second stage. Like Iran is saying, let's have an agreement now and then have nuclear deal and any kind of talks around nuclear program in Iran. But for Donald Trump, it's absolutely unacceptable. He wants to see the nuclear deal in a parallel way with what is happening in the Strait of Hormuz, making sure that Strait of Hormuz is not negotiable. It has to be open as soon as possible, and all other, let's say, conditions put by American sides to Iran in case of the prolongation of the military confrontation, it's absolutely different story and has to have a different conclusion.
We know, obviously, as you mentioned, the large number of boats and crew that remain stranded. We've had reports too of attacks, of small boat activity. What does that tell us about the tactics being deployed in the region?
Now each side is trying to take more power in the region, but American military presence is indeed strong. If that confrontation continues, then Iran may continue to attack the neighboring countries, as it's happened after this, launch of the Project of Freedom by Donald Trump, just within some hours, Iran started to respond, and the first target was United Arab Emirates, meaning that in case of any kind of escalation, they can be the full-scale war, as we could see in the beginning, since the start of this operation, if I'm not mistaken, on February 28. So Donald Trump also understands that he has time limitations because of the interim elections to take place in the United States in November, because of the stance of Congress, which is willing to have any kind of conclusion of that operation, military operation in the region Donald Trump initiated. So in order to achieve the desired results now, Donald Trump started to act, let's say, coming from the statements to the action. Before, he made several statements saying that Iran is not willing to have any kind of talks, but if any attacks to start being from the Iranian side, it can indeed lead to the full-scale war in the region. So if he starts to attack even the small Iranian boats, meaning that Iran may respond. If before it was United Arab Emirates, then tomorrow it can be Qatar, Saudi Arabia, or any other country in the region. But the most dangerous scenario, I think, will be in case of any attack against American ships in the region, against the American military staff there. If it's happened, then Donald Trump may use that as an opportunity to have a full response to the Iranian side, and then absolutely we could expect the start of a new way of the escalation.
Anastasia, the United Nations, Donald Trump isn't the UN's biggest fan, it's fair to say, but talk of a UN Security Council resolution, realistically, what impact could that have?
We cannot ignore the presence of two other strong actors in the United Nations Security Council, that's Russia and China, which is not fully supporting the American presence in the region and the action of the United States against Iran. Therefore, enforcement depends much on major power unity. In case if all 5 member states of the United Nations Security Council can come up with any specific proposal to de-escalate the situation and to have a real peace talks on the ground. But if there is no any kind of peace talks, any kind of one strategy acceptable to all countries, we do not see it on the ground. Official statements on behalf of the United States, China and Russia, and absolutely different approach to what is happening in the region. But the problem is on the ground. The Strait of Hormuz, it's still blocked. There is no any peaceful solution talks between two sides. The latest meeting, which was initiated in Islamabad, unfortunately it didn't happen, and neither delegation from Iran and then later from the United States didn't participate in that talk. So there is now no any direct talks between two delegations, United States and Iran, and the latest proposal from the Iran, which was passed through Pakistan, was actually denied by Donald Trump. So in case if you want to see a real result and the action by the United Nations, there should be one single approach formed by the Security Council, and at least some conditions and proposals initiated by 5 countries and agreed on the ground to bring this for the real de-escalation.
Anastasia, it's always great to have you with us in the studio.
Thank you so much.
Thank you very much indeed. Thank you. Okay, after the break, deadly car ramming attack in Germany leaves 2 dead, dozens injured. Don't go away. Welcome back. You're watching Primetime. Police in Germany are investigating a deadly car ramming incident in Leipzig that left 2 people dead and many others injured. Well, authorities say the suspect is in custody and there's no ongoing threat.
2 people have been killed and more than 20 others injured after a car drove into a crowd in the eastern German city of Leipzig. The incident happened on Monday afternoon in a busy pedestrian area in the city centre. Local authorities confirmed that a 63-year-old woman and a 77-year-old man died. At least 22 others were injured, including several in serious condition. Emergency services launched a large-scale response and sealed off the area. Police say the case is being treated as a deliberate act and that a suspect has been detained.
We are talking about a case of violent rampage here. We are working on the assumption that this was the act of a lone perpetrator and currently have no indications that there is still a threat to public safety. The suspect has been apprehended by us and is currently in police custody. He is 33 years old and a German national.
Leipzig's mayor described the scene as devastating, saying the city was in shock.
We are utterly stunned by what has happened. A man has driven at high speed into the shopping area. We are currently mourning 2 deaths, 3 people with serious injuries and many others who have been injured. It is impossible to find the right words to describe this horrific rampage.
Witnesses said the car was travelling at high speed and people had little time to react. Some bystanders rushed to help the injured, while others helped detain the driver before police arrived.
I was just sitting there in the cafe. There was a terrible noise and someone accelerated incredibly fast. Then people were lying at the side of the road and he just sped off. My friend saw someone lying on the roof. The police were called, but so many people had noticed what was happening and then panic broke out.
Another witness said the incident brought back memories of similar attacks elsewhere in Germany.
I'm from Trier and experienced the same thing there when a driver went on a rampage through Trier city centre. I was more or less there then too. I didn't witness it firsthand, but I am from Trier and I was in the city at the time. Naturally, that brought back memories. I know what it's like.
Prosecutors are now investigating the suspect for murder and attempted murder. Officials say there is currently no evidence of a political or religious motive, but note the suspect may have had mental health issues. Germany has seen a series of car ramming attacks in recent years.
Well, joining us now is Ajmal Sahel, Senior Counterterrorism and National Security Analyst, who is in Berlin in Germany. He's been closely following these developments. Ajmal, thank you very much indeed for joining us on Primetime. You're there, obviously, in Berlin. Just bring us up to speed on the latest information about this attack and how the authorities are responding.
So, actually, what matters is, for me, is a lot more important than what the authority are talking about is the motive of the incident or the motive behind this incident is. By the way, what the authority says that there were 2 people dead and a couple more injured. But the most important point is here the psychological effect of this incident. It is not an isolated, it also challenges the collective perception of the safety or security in Germany, which most of the time, unfortunately, to admit that the German authority and the German security institutions, they are more focusing on identity or identity-focused tactics or strategy rather to be behavioral strategy or tactic. So that is a huge gap between how they deal with the situation, and this gap is used by a lot of people, or some people are motivated somehow for violent extremism. So the focus is, as if I go a little bit deeper to the issue. So when they are focusing on identity, so they think that the people who commit violent extremism, they should be like from migrant background or from refugee background, or somehow from the countries they are familiar with the sort of incidents. But when it is about the German citizens, so when they don't focus on the behavior, rather the identity, and they lose this this opportunity, or they gave this opportunity so that incident could happen. So coming back to the main point, the ecological effect of this incident is really make the situation worse, because the fear which spreads today through the digital world is a lot more complicated for the people, and the people in urban areas, whether it's Berlin, whether it is Stuttgart, it is Leipzig, or any other urban areas, they are all really, sensitive to such situation. So their behavior would be quite different to the normal situation. They may expect more and more incidents because the authority are either not in a position, or they don't want to go deeper to prevent this incident to happen.
Yes, no, it's a very good point you make. I mean, I believe all the authorities have given so far on the suspect is the most meagre of details. So, age 33 and a German national. So very, very broad brush. What more should we be trying to find out about this individual? If it's not about his background, but it's about his mental state. I mean, even mental health issues, again, is a very broad brush. Is there anything we should be looking for to identify why in which this individual may have carried out this offence?
So let me go a little bit deeper, because it's more and all scientific needs a little bit scientific research. So if we are following the incidents from 1,000 years ago till today's terrorism, the first thing is we had the religious terrorism. And then the passage of time, then we enter to the right extremism or the conservative extremism. And then during the 90s, we entered the left extremism. And then again, we entered the religious extremism, which means were Shia or Christian or Muslim. And then the last wave was the jihadi terrorism. But what is really forgotten from the security playbook is the non-ideological motivated action. So they think a person who commits such a violent extreme act it should be like religiously motivated or politically motivated or ideologically motivated, but they don't really focus on someone as could not be religiously motivated, but it be non-ideologically motivated person, which is, for example, it's pretty individual. A person could be individually radicalized. So in today's world, the digital world gives this opportunity that everybody, or some people who are not critically thinking, they could be easily radicalized, or they are the theories which provide these gaps. And also the most important thing is, for me, as I follow the cases, the terrorist cases, case by case, sometimes it happens because of the identity. Some people lose their identity, or let me tell you another word, some people lose their importance. They were important people for their family, for their society, or for their neighborhood, at the workplace. Suddenly, due to what reason, they lose, or someone lose his importance. So this person is trying to attract attention, to bring back the attention to himself. And that is why the only way, or some possible way, would be that act of violent, a very violent act. So in this particular case, when still I don't know the motivation, what the real motivation behind this case is, I don't know, because nobody tells us about it. And I am still do not have the information of his interrogation. But when it is not ideologically motivated, or not with a terrorist organization or extremist organization, so in this case, it is a more someone who is, due to the social importance he lost within the family, or he lost his job, or he lost a financial problem he has, or even a psychological or behavior this instability he has in his body, it makes it possible that he commits such a crime.
But Ajmal, forgive me, if we don't know, as you say, if we don't have the information from the interrogation and we don't know what the motivation is, how can we also be sure that it isn't ideologically motivated?
Because the German authority could tell simply. So when someone is a German citizen, he is in his young age. That is why, or he is coming from the urban society or the higher society within a city or a country, or someone is qualified or educated, then these people could think critically, and that's why could not be motivated by the extremist or terrorist organizations. Whether they're left terrorists or they are right terrorists, or whether they are religious terrorists or whether they are jihadi terrorists. So in this particular case, it's a little bit difficult for German authorities. So they think that he is not connected to the terrorist organizations. If this situation could happen, and someone was behind that had migration background or had somehow refugee background, they could immediately, in most of the cases, incidents, I just follow them, and they immediately, without going to the details, they immediately said it is an act of terror and he is belonging, for example, Al-Qaeda or whatever. Or in this case, they don't see it because he's a German citizen. But the idea is still, as I said, when we don't find a root of the motivations from the ideological motive, we cannot say that he is not a terrorist. He's belonging to not a terrorist organization, because it could be self-radicalized, self-recruited to any organizations that and that would be the reason, or the motive behind.
And as you rightly say, the dangers of what can happen online is that we, potentially there could be thousands, millions even of people who are disaffected all around the world, who are able to access information and perhaps if people have mental health challenges, then they become, as you say, self-radicalized. My question, though, is why Germany? Attacks like this, specifically with the car, driving into people, they do seem to be more common in Germany. It's a very specific type of attack, isn't it? Are they more common in Germany than other European countries? And if so, why?
I think not in Germany. Also happened in London as well. A couple of times happened there, but in Germany, the copycat, it's another issue. So when an incident happened, when there is less access to other possibilities, for a firearm, it's really prohibited in Germany. So individuals or privately, most of the people or majority of the people could not own a gun or firearm because of the law, unless there would be some way out of that someone could have a firearm or a gun. This is not. The same couldn't happen the same as the United States. People taking the firearm or parents' guns or whatever, they go to the school and shoot everybody. It's not possible in Germany. Somehow it's not possible. In other, possibly it could not be as well. So that is the copycat. So many times or several times this happened in Germany, and a lot of incidents that was as a result of the car driving over the people, and this is a copycat, and he has done the same, or there would be like a gap left, and these gaps could be used for the people that they could use through the car, rather to the other methods that most of the terrorist organizations are doing.
Very difficult for the authorities, isn't it, to deal with this sort of thing? When you look at the mix of prevention, infrastructure changes, intelligence work, what can authorities do to try and keep German cities safe?
The first thing is, like this incident is really, they should be cautious because the exploitations, the radical organizations or the terrorist organizations, they could simply exploit this situation. Their idea is to bring fear, how to pump fear to the society. And society is already sensitive, and such an incident could have a real long-term psychological, effect on the people. And that is why the German society, all the security institutions, the first thing they should be to prevent it. When they cannot prevent it through specific activities, that it needs a little bit more time to explain what the preventive measure could be. So the first thing is they lose this opportunity because they more focus on identity rather to the behavior. They forget about it. They have to focus on the behavior of someone, not on his identity. And when the first track is lost, is the prevention, and then we have to do it somehow how to stop it. So we have to follow how to stop it. When we still cannot do it, and an incident happens, we have to do the first thing is the fear management. It is really, really important, the fear management, because the people should at least be psychologically assured that such incident may not occur again. So when I see after the incident, hours later, still the police presence is there, the roads are blocked. It is psychologically put more pressure on the people. People think, of course, there are some deep and rooted roots behind this incident, and that's the reason that we keep the people in fear. So the first thing is the fear management is just to clean the area, open the shops, and tell the people everything is okay. This was an incident, and we will try to prevent it. And after that, the most important thing is the resistance. We have to promote the resistance. So it means that we have to say no to such incidents or such an act of violence, and then we go to the normal business, and we have to be resistance. Like something is like a ball is hitting the ground and it bounced back. So we have to bounce back to stand against the violent extremists. This is the way we could do it. If we put more security forces around and keep the roads blocked and isolate the incident area, and this brings to the people that something really goes on, and the authority are not capable of preventing it.
And finally, Ajmal, why are these attacks more common now than say 20, 25 years ago? I mean, there were plenty of cars available in German cities. There were plenty of markets, pedestrianized areas. What is it about this period now that makes these attacks more common?
So this violence was also not common like 20 years ago or 30 years ago. So when we tried, for example, like 20 years or 25 years ago, to start war on terror, these war on terror had some backfires. These backfires are now coming to this today, all to the Western world or Western society. So these incidents were also taken place in a lot of the areas where the foreign forces were present. For example, in Afghanistan or in Iraq or in Lebanon or elsewhere. So they did it against the foreign troops or the foreign presence or any whether it was diplomatic or whether it was with the army, whatever. So after having such a situation, and then the media, the social media, and then the digital media we have today, is all had some negative effects that pushed the people or individual, or create an environment that the people, when they have stress, when they have they lose their importance, when they are in personal crisis, the other uncivil way to promote or to somehow to put pressure on the government to leave the civil way or civil activities and turn to the violent one. This is the way as I said before, a sort of a copycat. This copycat is from the other areas and brought to here to Germany or European countries as well.
Very interesting. Ajmal, always very interesting to speak to you. Thank you, as always, for your analysis.
You're welcome.
Okay, after the break, we'll take a look at the top business news stories shaping the day with Andy Mioch. Don't go away. Now, warm welcome back wherever you're watching Primetime. Now, Andy Mioch is here with the latest business news stories. Andy, what have you got on your agenda tonight?
Well, Guy, oil prices are fluctuating amid a steady stream of news out of the Middle East. A shipping giant reported that one of its vessels successfully transited Hormuz with U.S. support. Europe's largest bank reported a surprising loss linked to fraud, and there's also a couple of stories out of the pharma and chips industries. So, first up, oil prices declined as traders assess the risk of immediate supply disruptions amid renewed tensions between the United States and Iran. The fragile ceasefire came under strain after the United Arab Emirates reported intercepting Iranian drones and missiles, while Washington said it had sunk Iranian vessels in the Strait of Hormuz.
Brent crude futures slipped below $113 per barrel on Tuesday after a 4.4% gain in the previous session, as investors weighed the risk of a broader conflict against the possibility that the escalation is part of ongoing negotiations. The US and Iran exchanged fire in the Strait of Hormuz, casting doubt on the durability of a 4-week ceasefire. The United Arab Emirates also reported intercepting Iranian missiles and confirmed a fire at its Fujairah oil terminal. The developments follow US President Donald Trump's plan to restore transit through the strait, though ship owners remain cautious amid security risks. The renewed flare-up suggests the route may stay restricted without a US-Iran agreement, keeping markets alert to further price volatility.
Still with Iran war-related news, Danish shipping giant Maersk said a US-flagged vessel operated by one of its subsidiaries exited the Gulf via the Strait of Hormuz, accompanied by US military assets. The ship was stranded since the start of the US-Israeli war with Iran.
Maersk said one of its commercial vessels successfully transited through the strategically vital Strait of Hormuz under US military protection. The Alliance Fairfax, a US-flagged ship operated by Farrell Lines, a subsidiary of Maersk Line Limited, completed the journey without incident on Monday, the company said in a statement, with all crew members safe and unharmed. The ship had been stranded at sea since the US and Israeli-led war against Iran broke out on February 28th, Maersk said. It comes as the US Navy seeks to deliver on President Donald Trump's Project Freedom initiative, a plan to free ships that have been stranded by Iran's closure of the strait, a narrow waterway connecting the Persian Gulf and the Gulf of Oman. Typically, about 20% of the world's oil and gas passes through the Strait of Hormuz, but shipping traffic has virtually halted since the war began. US Central Command said on Monday that 2 US-flagged merchant vessels had successfully transited through the Strait of Hormuz, adding that US Navy-guided missile destroyers were currently operating in the region.
In the finance sector, Europe's largest bank HSBC reported an unexpected $400 million loss linked to a fraud case in Britain, raising further questions about lenders' private credit exposure and sending the bank's shares down 5%.
HSBC on Tuesday reported an unexpected $400 million loss linked to a fraud case in Britain. The loss shows why regulators worldwide have become more concerned about banks' exposure to the $3.5 trillion private credit industry, highlighting the often indirect and opaque nature of the lending. British bank HSBC lent money to a private equity firm, which in turn financed a securitization. That's the form of lending made notorious during the 2008 financial crisis, in which smaller loans such as mortgages are packaged together and sold to investors. HSBC's chief financial officer declined to identify the firm involved when questioned by reporters on Tuesday, but confirmed the exposure was to private credit-related loans. HSBC shares have risen by more than half in the last year, but they dropped 5% in morning trade on the news. The emergence of wider signs of stress in private credit has driven regulators in the US, Britain and elsewhere to probe lenders' exposure. HSBC, Europe's largest bank, posted pre-tax profit of $9.4 billion for January to March, below analyst forecasts.
Next up, Elon Musk settled the U.S. Securities and Exchange Commission's civil lawsuit accusing the world's richest person of waiting too long in 2022 to disclose his initial purchases of Twitter, now known as X.
Elon Musk has settled a U.S. Securities and Exchange Commission lawsuit against him for a $1.5 million fine. The suit accuses the world's richest person of waiting too long in 2022 to disclose his initial purchases of shares in Twitter, now known as X. Under the settlement disclosed Monday, a trust in Musk's name will pay the fine. The Tesla chief did not admit wrongdoing and won't have to give up any of the $150 million he allegedly saved from the delay. Now the settlement requires approval by U.S. District Judge Sparkle Suknanen, who in February rejected Musk's bid to dismiss the case. The SEC declined to comment. In its lawsuit, the regulator said Musk's 11-day delay in revealing his initial 5% Twitter stake let him buy more than $500 million of shares at artificially low prices, before he finally revealed a 9.2% stake. Musk called the delay inadvertent and accused the SEC of violating his free speech rights by targeting him. The case is separate from a civil suit where a San Francisco jury in March held Musk liable for having defrauded Twitter shareholders after announcing the buyout.
In pharma industry news, Pfizer posted first quarter earnings and revenue that topped estimates and reaffirmed its 2026 outlook as its recently launched and acquired products showed growth. Older top-selling drugs also helped drive demand and offset the decline in revenue from Pfizer's COVID vaccine.
Pfizer on Tuesday reported first quarter profit above Wall Street estimates, boosted by sustained demand for older drugs such as blood thinner Eliquis and cancer drug Padcev. Sales of Pfizer's COVID products have fallen sharply from pandemic peaks amid a pushback from the US administration and weak US demand. The US drug maker is also grappling with impending patent expirations, which include some of its top-selling drugs like blood thinner Eliquis and cancer drug Ibrance. Pfizer reaffirmed its 2026 profit and revenue outlook. The drug maker achieved total sales for the quarter of $14.4 billion, compared with analysts' average expectation of $13.7 billion, according to data compiled by LSEG. On an adjusted basis, the company reported a profit of 75 cents per share, topping analysts' estimates of 72 cents per share.
And finally, in chip-making news, SEMI, an industry association, said it expects the surge in demand for semiconductors to persist despite supply chain disruptions. The head of the association said current geopolitical issues were unlikely to curtail the boom this year, though persistent shortages of raw materials may affect the long-term outlook.
Global chip industry group SEMI said on Tuesday that it expects a recent surge in demand for semiconductors to be sustained despite supply chain disruptions stemming from the Middle East crisis and other trade uncertainties. Worldwide semiconductor sales are forecast to hit $1 trillion this year, doubling to $2 trillion by 2035, fueled by booming growth in data centers used to power artificial intelligence technologies. SEMI Chief Executive Officer Ajit Manocha said risks arising from geopolitical tensions were unlikely to curtail the boom this year, though persistent shortages of raw materials may affect the longer-term outlook.
Well, there you have it. That's the business brief for tonight. Handing it back to you, Guy.
Thanks very much, Andy. Great stuff as always. Thank you. Okay, after the break, the EU deepens ties with Armenia as Yerevan shifts away from Russia. Don't go away. Welcome back. Yerevan has hosted a summit with the European Union on Tuesday. It comes as the country is seeing a shift from its long-standing ally, Russia.
The first ever bilateral summit between the European Union and Armenia was held in the Armenian capital, Yerevan, on Tuesday. The meeting reinforced cooperation in connectivity, security and defence, and economic development. European Commission President Ursula von der Leyen and European Council President Antonio Costa attended the summit, where they were welcomed by Armenian Prime Minister Nikol Pashinyan. The leaders oversaw the signing of several bilateral documents, including the EU-Armenia Connectivity Partnership, 6 non-binding letters of intent, a new working arrangement between Armenia and Frontex, and a visa report. On security and defence, the leaders welcomed the establishment of an EU partnership mission in Armenia. At Armenia's request, the EU will support efforts to enhance the country's resilience. The Armenian Armed Forces also received initial deliveries of EU assistance under the European Peace Facility, with a total value of €30 million.
We are equally committed to supporting Armenia's national resilience and your security. The new European Union Partnership Mission in Armenia will help strengthen crisis response capacities and contribute to the country's long-term stability.
Under the European Peace Facility, we are supporting the Armenian Armed Forces, but Armenia has also to counter foreign information manipulation, hybrid threats, interference. Our new EU partnership mission will support you in countering these hybrid threats and disinformation.
The summit comes as Armenia gradually moves away from its long-standing ally Russia and Russia-led groups such as the CYS and the Collective Security Treaty Organization.
Well, joining us now is Vakhtang Messiah, political analyst who's been closely following developments in the region. Vakhtang, thank you very much indeed for joining us. Good to have you on Primetime. A lot of geopolitical shifts happening at the moment. How significant is this EU-Armenia summit at this particular time?
Yeah, thank you very much for having me, and also greet you and to greet your audience. First of all, yes, you are right. It's very significant just about shifts, not only from European Union perspective, but the whole European security perspective I mentioned, because, and the similar of this European Union, Armenia, just about bilateral, just about strategic partnership convention, also just hold a, it was held a very interesting European leaders just about summit, where also the President of Ukraine, Vladimir Zelensky, also took part, as well as Georgian delegation with prime ministers also attended this very important summit. So it's also indicated about not only just about European, but about international, global, just about very draw attention toward not only to Armenia, but to all, to whole our region. I mean, South Caucasus. It's more important because the Caucasian just about leaders also took part in this very important just about session, forum. And of course, separate we also discussed about Armenia European Union just about partnership, which only just about have partnership, but I do hope that it will soon just transform to the strategic partnership level. And I do hope that Armenia also being just about lifted visa regime with European Union member countries, just like Georgia, we have at a time of being. And I guess very soon also Azerbaijan also will also have just received this great just about privileges. So I think so that the South Caucasus states like Georgia, Armenia, and Azerbaijan shows up and demonstrate absolutely great just about attractiveness and achievements in order just to be a European board discussions and debates cases. And I guess we'll have like a new just about regional security, maybe fora, where just European Union also been very actively engaged in dealing all just about regional just about threats and risks which nowadays face our region. Mostly, as Ursula von Leyen mentioned about the hybrid threats. Hybrid threats, first of all, about disinformation, information warfare, even combating terrorism, even just about white-collar crimes, and etc., which also been affiliated with which so-called asymmetric threat perceptions. I think so that, and of course, these political just about foundations also stipulates to more fostering geoeconomic and economic ties between region, I mean about regional states, I mean Georgia, Armenia, Azerbaijan, with European Union from geoeconomic security standpoint, which is more important and more just about tentative case.
Yes, and to what extent do you think this summit signals Armenia's shift away from Russia?
Partially, I would say that Armenia will just about shift and pursuing so-called balance of our power policy, or just about bandwagoning, just about foreign policy case, in order just to counterbalance with Russian hegemony, not only just about at national level, but even at regional level. You know, just Armenia suspended its membership in such just about pro-Russian or pro-Eurasian just about structures that like or just collective security organizations, partially also just it's more diminishing its engagement in Eurasian economic just about council activities. So in that regards, yes, and of course wills of course increasing its partnership relations, mainly economic one, with Azerbaijan, and of course about creation about an interesting bridge between Yerevan and Baku, which also just promotion to the Caspian, just about regional, just about paternality. It's also just indicated that Armenia is going to pursue and preserving so-called bandwagoning foreign policy, keeping balance of power with hegemons like Russia Federation, and of course also demonstrated about peaceful attentions in its geopolitical missions and goals achievements.
And we heard some strong statements, didn't we, about increased EU involvement in Armenia's security and defence. What do you think that means for the region?
Well, I mean that about it is about soft security and soft, so-called soft defense. And of course, Ursula von Leyen absolutely correctly undermined about just about such kind of prevention of even just prevention and I would say just about counterweighting such about risks like cyber terrorism, information warfare, disinformation, which also just considering as about more impeachments and of the security, just about basements for national security perspective of Armenia. I guess that's kind so-called soft security provision should be considered in so far, and which provide against just to detect any just about subversion against Armenia, which nowadays we can see from the northern just about Armenians just about another strategic partnership from Russia in prior to the parliamentary elections. And you know, just the elections will be also detrimental and most important for Armenians generally about statehood considerations, where Armenia will go further on. So I guess this cooperation, these bilateral engagements also will be just in hand and helpful to Armenia to secure its soft security provisions, mainly to protect itself from aggressive just information, cyber, and even disinformation warfare campaigns.
And Dr. Maisaya, how do you think Azerbaijan might view this idea of the EU's expanding role in Armenia?
I think so that European Union's just engagement or intervention into the regional affairs, I guess, more increase, I think so, those regional project realization cases as we just deem to have in mind, like a Trump corridor, Zangezur corridor for development, middle corridor development. Of course, the European Union also just provided a good bonuses to also just reinforce its $3.2 billion underneath electric cable project, where Georgia and Azerbaijan are engaged as a strategic equal partner with European member countries, as are, for instance, Romania and Hungary. I guess this is also a very interesting case. And I do hope that it's also just increase about or improve Georgia-European Union relations at official formal level. And of course, it's also just increase European Union and Azerbaijan strategic partnership in providing energy security, which is also in both directions to be very helpful. And by doing so, of course, it also just increase and improve regional security stability, and just also just reached up to the level of where the Caucasus should be considered as a peaceful geostrata for promotions, any just about geoeconomic projects and program, which also just pursuing to set up a constant peace at regional level. I guess cooperation between Armenia and Azerbaijan, and further on with European Union, United States, with Western community, collective West, will also be improve geopolitical situation at region of any case.
Yeah, it's very interesting. It seems more and more actors in the world are paying attention to the South Caucasus. Do you think that this could be the beginnings of a new relationship between this region and the EU?
Yes, for sure. I guess European Union just since when South Caucasus nations declared independence in 1991, 1992 years, I guess every time expressed its interest toward our region. I would like to remind you about protections and just execution such projects like Traseka, like even just about South, just about gas corridor, and transatlantic, Anatolian, just about gas projects. Also just providing European Union, even just about European Union, just about military mission in Georgia when just Russian forces attacked Georgia and intervened in the Georgian the sovereign countries in 2008, August 2008. Also just European just about providing financial economic support to all three nations. Also just implicated, also just European Union's great interest to the realization middle corridor just project, and of course to fostering the so-called geoeconomic alliance of engagement with Turkey, Georgia, Azerbaijan, and Kazakhstan. And I guess very soon Armenia also will join this alliance too. Also express great attractiveness of European Union to the regional affairs in aid of the wider Black Sea security dimensional case, because while, as you know, European Union even demonstrated the Black Sea security is the most important geopolitical just about goal and missions, which European Union perceive in regard of the whole European security architecture fora.
Dr. Maisaya, we appreciate your analysis. Thank you very much indeed for joining us.
Thank you very much.
Okay, after the break, Azerbaijan and the EU hold talks in Baku on energy, connectivity and regional security. Don't go away. Welcome back. You're watching Primetime. Azerbaijani Foreign Minister Ceyhun Bayramov and EU Foreign Policy Chief Kaya Kallas have held high-level talks in Baku. Now, the meeting focused on establishing a more structured partnership with a major emphasis on expanding the middle corridor and energy security. Highlighting Azerbaijan as a reliable partner, Kallas pointed to shared interests in trade and transport. The discussions also addressed regional security, including demining activities in the liberated regions and the South Caucasus normalization process. Now, joining us is Parvana Valieva, member of the Parliament of the Republic of Azerbaijan, who's been closely following regional diplomacy. Thank you very much indeed for joining us. Great to have you with us on Primetime. How important is the middle corridor then to shaping Azerbaijan-EU cooperation?
Well, thank you very much for having me, first of all. At the heart of this evolving relationship between Azerbaijan and European Union lies the middle corridor, which has become a central pillar of this cooperation as global trade routes are being reshaped, especially in light of geopolitical tensions involving Russia. This corridor offers a vital alternative connecting Europe to Central Asia and beyond. Azerbaijan's geographic position makes it indispensable in this route as a bridge between regions, Asia and between Europe and Asia. For the EU, investing in this corridor is not only about trade efficiency, but also about strategic resilience, diversifying supply chains, reducing reliance on traditional transit routes. For example, EBRD, European Bank, with the support of European Union, now they are conducting some kind of economic technical assessment in Nakhchivan railway routes to assess the analyze current situation of the railway in Nakhchivan, and we hope Azerbaijan is expecting that they also can put some investments, EU, to the construction of the railway in Nakhchivan, part of the project, because it is part of TRI project.
Yes. And what do you think this meeting tells us about Azerbaijan's role in Europe's energy security?
Yeah, energy security is one of the main sector that European Union wants and aim to deepen cooperation with Azerbaijan because Baku is a reliable and valuable energy partner for the EU. We are supplying natural gas to 10 of EU countries. And they are also want to deepen this cooperation to increase the number of countries that Azerbaijan supply natural gas. And particularly, it's also Europe also continue efforts to diversify away from Russian energy sources. Azerbaijan is already contributing with this gas export, and the relationship is expanding further into also renewable energy and green transition projects. Azerbaijan is pioneering and also championing in green energy projects as well. That's why the future relationship cooperation in energy, it signals that Azerbaijan will also supply renewable energy to Europe through it can be through also Zangezur corridor.
Yes.
And it is not just a short-term solution to Europe, but it will be, we think that it will be a long-term component of the broader energy security strategy between Azerbaijan and EU.
Yes, we were talking a few moments ago with Dr. Maisaya about more and more actors in the world looking to this region. How do these talks reflect the EU's broader strategy in the South Caucasus, do you think?
Yeah, EU see this relationship not short term but long term, as we see that the recent discussions between Azerbaijan and European Union come at a particularly important moment. President Ilham Aliyev participated in EPC summits in Tirana and Copenhagen, holding meetings with senior EU leaders. Also, Azerbaijan was selected to host the 12th EPC summit in 2028. That is announced. This also highlighting its growing role. And also EU Council President Antonio Costa's first official visit to Azerbaijan in March further advanced bilateral ties, setting priorities for future cooperation. The last meeting was held in the city of Brussels between latest meeting between the delegation of Azerbaijan and European Union. It was in April. The aim was resuming negotiations on a new bilateral agreement, conducting the next discussions on the partnership priorities document. And this document is very important to deepen cooperation. The discussions took place as very constructive spirit that is focused on mutually understanding the positions, and it was decided that to hold the next stage of the negotiations in early June in Baku. At the same time, the European Union focused on deepening relationship with Armenia as well, as EPC summit conducted in Armenia. We saw the results, the consequences of this meeting. Also, as we read the document, the resolution that is concluded this summit. This is also saying that EU also would like to deepen cooperation with Armenia as well.
Yes, and something else that was discussed earlier as well was the role that Azerbaijan is playing in not just regional normalization, but also demining efforts too.
Demining.
Yes.
Yeah, within this context, Azerbaijan also plays a crucial role in post-conflict recovery and normalization efforts, particularly following its conflict with Armenia. Demining activities are essential for reconstruction, safe return of displaced people, refugees, former refugees to their homes, and EU financial support in this area is very essential. Azerbaijan also is expecting to have some financial support because there is one mechanism. It's called EU Peace Fund. EU Peace Fund supports Armenia. They got some funds. They allocated some funds to Armenia twice from this fund. But it is expected that this fund keeps a balance in supporting South Caucasus region countries, especially Azerbaijan, and supporting Azerbaijan in demining processes as well, demining activities, because demining is very long-term activity. It needs more financial support from donors as well, and also some push from international community. But we expect to have some support, like a balancing within through EU Peace Fund.
Now, Favana, I know that there has been some disagreements between Baku and specifically the European Parliament, but more widely across the whole of the EU. Are you positive about the future long-term partnership between Brussels and Baku?
Yeah, unfortunately, Azerbaijan has good partnership with European Council and also European Commission, but at the same time, we face some intrigues, some insults, lies about Azerbaijan by European Parliament. Unfortunately, these three agencies, three structures of EU has not one position, especially in terms of foreign affairs, foreign policy. EU Parliament, European Parliament always stay indifferent in these relations, and as Azerbaijan president made his statement about this yesterday during EPC summit. We saw double standards, we saw baseless claims, attempts to Azerbaijan. This is interference to Azerbaijan's internal affairs, and it is not acceptable. Only just in 5 years, 14 baseless resolutions adopted by European Parliament, and that's why our Azerbaijan Parliament, our Milli Meclis, decided to suspend all cooperation with European Parliament all across the sectors, also including Euronets. We are not think positive about European Parliament because they have also some issues regarding corruption, and this structure, I think that they lost their credibility regarding these corruption scandals and their suspicious relations with, from time to time, Russia.
Parvana Valieva, Member of Parliament, thank you very much indeed for joining us tonight.
Thank you for inviting me.
Okay, after the break, we'll check in with our correspondents around the globe. Do stay with us. Welcome back to Primetime. Good to have you with us. Europe is reassessing its security posture as shifting US priorities raise new questions about long-term defence commitments on the continent. Anita Sharma has more.
Welcome to This Day in Europe. As uncertainty over U.S. missile deployments and U.S. President Trump's planned troop withdrawal from Germany push Europe toward a stark new reality. It may have to take greater responsibility for its own long-range defense. German Chancellor Friedrich Merz told German public broadcaster ARD there's practically no chance the U.S. will now station Tomahawk missiles in Germany for a simple reason. Washington just doesn't have enough for its own needs, given the demands of the escalating conflict with Iran. The Tomahawk system was promised under former U.S. President Biden as a stopgap to bolster European deterrence while Europe built up its own capabilities. Now, that option is likely off the table, prompting fresh calls for Europe to step in. A German defense expert allied with Merz urged the EU to co-develop its own cruise missile systems together with Ukraine, saying such a European alternative could be ready by around 2030. At the same time, Trump's decision to pull at least 5,000 U.S. troops from Germany, on top of threats to cut even further, has taken many European leaders by surprise. They see it less as a military adjustment and more as a political signal. Europe must now assume a greater share of its own defense. NATO Secretary General Mark Rutte said European leaders have, quote, gotten the message from Trump and are responding by stepping up their defense commitments. EU Foreign Policy Chief Kaja Kallas echoed that, describing the troop decision as a surprise, but also a reminder that Europe can no longer rely on the U.S. alone to guarantee its security. For Kyiv and many European capitals, the message is converging. If Washington is withholding advanced weapons and reducing its footprint, the burden falls on Europe to develop its own capabilities, arm Ukraine more sustainably, and build a credible long-range deterrence of its own. For A News, I'm Anita Sharma from Arnhem, Netherlands.
Iran's armed forces asserted their control over the Strait of Hormuz as military commanders have warned against the transit of foreign vessels from the strategic waterway without the Islamic Republic's permission. Our correspondent Turaj Shalilo has more.
The Iranian military commanders have stressed that foreign vessels intending to sail through the Strait of Hormuz, connecting the Persian Gulf to the Sea of Oman, shall first obtain Iran's permission to do so. Their statements came on Monday after Iran's warning gave way to action with reported firing at U.S. frigates in the strategic waterway, which Washington says are on the escort patrolling operation. Meantime, Iran has not claimed responsibility for drone attacks on the United Arab Emirates, with local media reports blaming it on the US forces in the region. Major General Amir Hatami, Commander-in-Chief of Iran's army, said in a post on X social platform that the security of the region is Iran's red line. And Brigadier General Hossein Mohebbi, the spokesman for Revolutionary Guards, stressed in a statement that all safe maritime movement of commercial vessels should comply with the transit protocols issued by the Guards Navy and through the specified route. Also, Ali Akbar Ahmadian, representative of Supreme Leader of Iran in the Defense Council, wrote in a post on X, "The American pirates who captured the world's shipping and energy security should know that asymmetric combined operations will change the equations in a way that the cost of their decision will exceed their tolerance threshold." Earlier on Monday, the commander of Khatam al-Anbiya Central Headquarters, Major General Ali Abdullahi, had strongly reacted to US President Donald Trump's announcement on navigation across the Strait of Hormuz, escorted by the US Navy. He said, "We warn that any foreign armed force, especially the invading American army, will be attacked if they intend to approach and enter the Strait of Hormuz." Turash Ralilu, Tehran Foreign News.
Turkey's president has delivered a strongly worded message to the European Union, saying Brussels should not undermine Ankara's constructive approach, but instead recognise Turkey's strategic value. Well, speaking after a cabinet meeting in Ankara, Mr. Erdogan said Europe cannot become a global actor without Turkey as a full EU member. Here are the details.
Speaking after a Monday cabinet meeting, President Recep Tayyip Erdogan said the EU should refrain from actions and rhetoric that could damage the constructive role played by Turkey, adding that Ankara's position should be commended, not undermined. Erdogan also argued that the EU cannot become a global actor without Turkey as a full-fledged member. He accused certain EU institutions of harboring what he described as a strategic bias against Turkey, saying the real question was not where Ankara stands, but where Brussels sees itself in the future. He also said Europe needs Turkey more than Turkey needs Europe, adding that this need would only increase in the future. Erdogan also referred to Ankara's long-standing EU accession process, which dates back to 1959. According to the Turkish leader, Turkey has faced double standards and what he described as deeply rooted prejudices among certain circles in Europe, despite Turkey's decades-long membership in the NATO alliance. These circles, Erdogan said, have used different excuses over the years, from Turkey's democracy and economy to its population and faith, to slow down or block the country's EU accession process. Europe, he said, now faces a choice. Either see Turkey's growing power as an opportunity or allow exclusionary rhetoric to damage its own future. This is Adam Morrow for A News in Istanbul, Turkey.
Aid agencies are warning that global shipping disruption and rising oil prices are now directly affecting some of the world's most vulnerable people, including children in Afghanistan. Well, The Guardian has reported that the cost of bringing food into Afghanistan has tripled, forcing the World Food Programme to take longer and more expensive routes to deliver emergency supplies. Our correspondent Tamim Bahis reports from Kabul.
The warning here in Kabul is extremely serious. According to The Guardian, John Aliyev, the World Food Programme's country director in Afghanistan, said the cost of getting food into this landlocked country has now tripled. The report says WFP stocks of fortified biscuits, a vital food supply for children, are being transported overland from Dubai through 7 countries to Afghanistan. This is being done to avoid the usual shipping route through the Strait of Hormuz. But the new route is taking 3 weeks longer than before. Aliyev told The Guardian that Afghan children are going hungry as a result and warned that many could die if supplies continue to be delayed. The Guardian also reported that aid organizations are calling for a humanitarian corridor through the Strait of Hormuz, as disruption linked to the US and Israel's war on Iran has pushed up oil prices and blocked or slowed the movement of food, medicine, and fuel. Here in Afghanistan, the impact is especially severe because the country depends heavily on imported aid. Any delay in food delivery means more pressure on families already facing hunger, poverty, and limited access to basic services. Aid agencies say the crisis is being made worse by cuts to international aid budgets, while conflict is increasing the price of every shipment, food package, and medical kit. The concern now is that unless transport routes reopen and costs come down, more children in Afghanistan and other crisis-hit countries could be pushed closer to starvation. Tamim Bahis in Kabul, A News.
Istanbul is holding one of the largest defence and aerospace events in Europe as it hosts the Saha 2026 exhibition. Well, the event has seen thousands of companies taking part. Here's Nuray Mustafa with more details.
Organized by Saha Istanbul, the Saha 2026 exhibition has officially begun in Istanbul at the Istanbul Expo Center. More than 1,700 companies are taking part in the event. The exhibition is considered one of the largest defense and aerospace events in Turkey and Europe. It's being held under the slogan, Master Technology Shape the Future. As in previous year, the exhibition has attracted significant interest. At the 2024 edition, participants from over 120 countries attended. More than 25,000 meetings were held and cooperation activities worth $6.2 billion were achieved. The official opening ceremony has already taken place. Speaking at the event, the chairman of the board of Saha 2026, Haluk Bayraktar, addressed the impact of global political tensions in the defense industry and technology. Within the framework of Saha 2026, official delegations and companies are coming together with meetings being held to establish new partnerships. The exhibition features drone demonstrations, technology presentations, and competitions. The World Drone Wars event being held for the first time has also drawn particular attention. Overall, more than 300 new products are expected to be showcased during the exhibition, alongside the signing of various agreements. Nuray Mustafa ve Selciye for A News, Istanbul, Turkey.
Well, the exhibition also highlighted the expanding defence ties between Turkey and Azerbaijan. Haluk Bayraktar, chairman of the board of Saha Istanbul, detailed how strategic cooperation is driving joint production and new technological milestones in the region.
There is very close cooperation between the defense industries of Azerbaijan and Turkey. Many Turkish companies, including Baykar, Roketsan, Aselsan and MKE, are engaged in joint production activities in Azerbaijan. Through our subsidiary, Bayraktar Azerbaijan, we have an ongoing investment in a factory focused on unmanned technology. Other Turkish firms are also making similar continuous investments. As two brotherly nations, we are moving forward with deep strategic cooperation in this sector. In fact, I can confirm that the Sivrisinek products you see here at the Baykar stand are also 100% manufactured at our facilities in Azerbaijan.
Well, speaking at the event, Baykar chairman Haluk Bayraktar unveiled a new generation of autonomous kamikaze drones, explaining how this technology marks a major paradigm shift for the future of warfare.
Today, we stand before you with a new milestone, a technology and a paradigm shift that will, in a sense, shape the future. You are looking at the K2 kamikaze unmanned aerial vehicle developed by Baykar, along with the Muzrak and Sivrisinek kamikaze UAVs, which are also part of this family. These are swarm-capable kamikaze UAVs equipped with advanced artificial intelligence, designed to coordinate with internal synergy and intelligently neutralize targets while operating completely independent of global positioning systems, GPS. Using its onboard camera systems, it can navigate day or night by recognizing terrain features. The K2, with a takeoff weight of 850 kilograms, is effectively the heavyweight of kamikaze UAVs. It utilizes 200 kilogram Mk warheads and boasts a range exceeding 2,000 kilometers.
Baku is bringing together global players in agriculture, food production and hospitality as one of the region's largest industry gatherings opens its doors. Caspian Agro Week highlights new technologies, international partnerships and growing opportunities for business development.
Live machinery demonstrations, smart agri-tech solutions, food industry showcases and business meetings are taking place side by side at Caspian Agro Week.
From May 5th to May 8th, the Baku Expo Center once again takes center stage, hosting Caspian Agro Week, Interfood Azerbaijan and Horeca Caspian, the region's premier exhibitions dedicated to agriculture, the food industry and hospitality.
Today we're showcasing Belarusian producers and bringing our best, highest quality meat products to Baku. We already have strong partnerships with local retail chains, and we represent the Mogilev meat processing plant. Our goal is to expand our supply across Baku.
This year, 447 companies from 45 countries are taking part, presenting modern farming technologies, food production systems, smart agriculture solutions, packaging and hospitality innovations. Visitors can explore both indoor exhibition halls and large outdoor displays featuring advanced agricultural machinery and live demonstrations.
We help small and medium enterprises to go abroad. So that's why we decided to do an Italian pavilion here in Caspian Agro, because we believe there is a big potential here in Azerbaijan for Italian technology. We have 10 Italian companies here, and there are other 12 Italian companies in the fair, in the shop.
The program is full of activities, international forums, panel discussions, workshops and B2B meetings that bring together industry leaders, experts and entrepreneurs. Many participants are actively seeking to build new cooperation, expand partnerships and enter new markets.
We're presenting one of the world's leading brands, Homer. This German-made machine is a specialized sugar beet harvester. It gently lifts the beets from the soil, cuts the leaves, cleans them using turbines, and transfers them into the bunker, all in one process. From field to raw product, it streamlines the entire harvest efficiently. These machines are already operating in Azerbaijan with major agricultural companies, helping boost productivity and support the development of modern, innovative farming in the country.
A strong focus is placed on innovation and the Made in Azerbaijan brand. Participants on the ground highlight the importance of the event. With strong international participation and a packed business agenda, Caspian Agro Week and Interfood Azerbaijan continue to stand out as major regional platforms for innovation, trade and collaboration.
Armenian Prime Minister Nikol Pashinyan says a de facto peace now exists with Azerbaijan, pointing to a historic shift in shared rhetoric. While addressing EU chiefs in Yerevan, he stressed that the unblocking regional borders is vital and added that the peace declaration signed in Washington last August is only the beginning.
Signing and ratifying a peace agreement does not mean the work is finished. On the contrary, the text of the agreement itself makes it clear that additional arrangements will be required afterward, including on sectoral cooperation. For example, in the transport sector, we are already cooperating today without any separate agreement. And of course, it is extremely important that we fully open roads for each other, including the opening of the border with Turkey. I have no doubt that this will happen. For the first time in our shared history, Armenia and Azerbaijan are using the same or very similar rhetoric. In particular, I have noticed that I myself very often speak in this way. We are learning to live in conditions of peace. Moreover, we are still trying to understand what peace is, what it represents, what its form and substance are.
Kazakhstan has been hosting GTEX AI 2026, the region's largest technology and startup event. Now, most of the companies taking part are entering the Kazakh market for the first time, as Almaty becomes a new meeting point for global tech players. International companies, investors and startups are there to present their solutions and to look at the region's potential as a growing technology hub. Our correspondent reports from Almaty.
Here in Almaty at the Atakent Exhibition Center, the first ever GTEX AI Kazakhstan is now in its second day. More than 300 companies from 60 countries are here, showing technologies that until recently sounded like science fiction. They range from advanced AI systems to solutions already used in real industries. Investment talks, product launches and startups competing for attention and funding are all happening here. What really stands out is that around 85% of the companies are in Kazakhstan for the first time. For many of them, this is not just a presentation, it's a first look at the market and a chance to understand how the region works and what opportunities it offers. One of the solutions on display focuses on workplace safety.
So what we are seeing here is one of the product, it's called Smart Eye. We can, deploy this product across any, installed cameras in any construction company or industries. This is an industry agnostic solution. So what we do here is we develop a lot of use cases, especially on the HSE use cases. And you can see here, if in the live video, see for example now I'm wearing a live vest and it is detecting, you can see a green indication there. So likewise, if I wear a helmet, gloves, it will detect. The same way in the real world, we have a lot of use cases developed. You can, as a HSE perspective, we can monitor the complete compliance, the PPE, as well as we also, evolved with other verticals in the retail industries, the, refineries, in energy industries.
There is also strong interest from investors. Funds from the United States, Europe, the Middle East and Asia, including Sturgeon Capital, are looking closely at startups from across the region. Among them are projects from Astana Hub and IT Park, Uzbekistan.
В Узбекистане насчитывается более чем 950 стартапов.
In Uzbekistan, there are more than 950 startups. An IT park actively supports many of them. Today, more than 9 companies are taking part here at GTEX Kazakhstan, most of them IT startups. We help them not only grow within Uzbekistan, but also expand into global markets. And for us, GTEX Kazakhstan is exactly the kind of platform that makes this possible.
GTEX Kazakhstan именно считается такой площадкой.
On the second day, the focus is shifting to more practical questions, how to move from AI strategies to real infrastructure, and how to train the specialists who will support it. The discussions cover everything from artificial intelligence and fintech to cybersecurity and smart energy as the region looks to turn plans into real projects. Fariza Kalimurzina, Natik Mamadov, A News, Almaty.
Energy, private sector development and regional cooperation are in focus at the Asian Development Bank's annual meeting in Samarkand. Our correspondent Seville Rajapova has the details.
Discussions at the Asian Development Bank's 59th annual meeting in Samarkand are centered on energy transition, investment and regional connectivity across Central Asia. Energy remains a key focus. The Asian Development Bank is scaling up investment in clean energy and regional connectivity, with a target of mobilizing $70 billion by 2035. In Uzbekistan, this includes ongoing investment in solar and wind power, as well as better energy storage systems. The country is also advancing its first nuclear power project in the Jizak region as part of its long-term energy strategy. Alongside these discussions highlighted the growing role of private sector investment in driving economic development. In 2025, total investment in Uzbekistan reached $43.1 billion, marking a 24% increase, with $38.2 billion coming from foreign direct investment. As part of broader reforms, Uzbekistan is developing the Tashkent International Financial Center alongside the Enterprise Uzbekistan Digital Hub and new Islamic finance instruments aimed at strengthening its position as a regional investment hub. The financial center alone is expected to attract up to $20 to $25 billion by 2030. Across Central Asia, investment is also accelerating, led by large-scale energy and infrastructure projects. Kazakhstan alone has attracted more than $17 billion in foreign direct investment in recent projects, while Uzbekistan continues to position itself as one of the region's fastest-growing investment destinations. Participants also underlined that improving regional connectivity in both transport and energy systems remains critical for long-term growth, particularly for landlocked economies. It is Sivil Rajab reporting from Samarkand, Uzbekistan A News.
A juvenile suspect has been shot by Secret Service officers near the White House after an armed confrontation. Well, the Secret Service said officers approached a suspicious individual who appeared to have a firearm. Officials said the suspect fled and fired towards officers before being shot. The White House was briefly placed on lockdown after the incident. Secret Service director said the suspect was a juvenile that had a weapon that had been recovered. Law enforcement in Washington has been on heightened alert following a recent shooting linked to the White House Correspondents Association dinner. North Korea has opened a major trade fair in Pyongyang, bringing foreign diplomats and participants to the capital. Here's the latest report.
North Korea has opened the 24th Pyongyang Spring International Trade Fair. State media says products from around 290 companies are on display, with participants from North Korea, Russia, China, Mongolia, Switzerland, and Thailand. The event is one of North Korea's few international trade shows, bringing foreign diplomats and companies into Pyongyang. The exhibition includes mobile phones, food products, public health items, and locally produced medicines.
Our Korean Mangyong company has presented high-tech products at this exhibition, including the Jindal 12 and 11 smartphones, a 6th-generation wireless network connector, an identification and payment card.
North Korea's External Economic Relations Minister said the fair would support wider economic cooperation with other countries.
At this exhibition, our Tosong Technical Cooperation and Exchange Company has presented more than 60 kinds of medicines, including Tosong Chonghyol pills and ginseng hepatitis capsules. These medicines, produced with our own capability, technology and raw materials, are highly favoured by our people for their effectiveness in cleansing blood vessels and treating hepatitis.
North Korea has remained under heavy UN sanctions for nearly 20 years over its nuclear and missile programs, limiting much of its trade with the outside world.
Russia and Ukraine are trading rival ceasefire proposals ahead of Victory Day. While both Moscow and Kyiv have suggested a pause in fighting, residents in both capitals express deep skepticism. We have the latest now from the streets.
President Vladimir Putin has declared a two-day ceasefire for May 8th and 9th to mark the end of World War II. In response, President Volodymyr Zelensky countered with his own proposal for a pause starting even earlier. But on the streets of Moscow, the mood is a mix of anxiety and defiance. While some feel secure, others question if enough is being done to protect them.
I also feel that our authorities and leadership don't do enough in protecting us. There is no sense being in constant stress, because if something strikes on me, it will just strike, and I can do nothing with it, but the authorities can.
Other Russians remain defiant, believing their military defenses will hold regardless of any formal agreement.
I think it is unlikely that Zelensky will keep the ceasefire. Everything that flew before will fly, but we have the sense of security. I think they will repel everything and everything will be good.
In Kiev, Zelensky dismissed the Russian offer as utter cynicism following deadly overnight strikes. Distrust among Ukrainians remains absolute.
Putin cannot be trusted. He won't actually do anything he promises. The truce will be such that we are not going to not bomb the Red Square.
For those under daily bombardment, the desire for a pause is overshadowed by the fear of further provocations.
I would like to see a ceasefire, to see the war end. Because when you live under attacks every day, well, it's impossible to believe what they say. But I would like to believe it.
Moscow and Kiev remain locked in a diplomatic standoff as May 9th approaches. With neither side trusting the other's intent, the prospects for a functional ceasefire on the ground remain low.
And finally, in Rio de Janeiro, one neighbourhood is once again turning its streets into a canvas as World Cup excitement begins to build. Let's take a closer look.
In Rio's Vila Isabel district, a long-standing World Cup tradition is back as residents transform their street into a colourful tribute to Brazil's national team. On Pereira Nunes Street, locals have been painting murals every 4 years for nearly 5 decades, turning the area into a vibrant open-air celebration of football. This year's artwork features Brazil's iconic yellow, green and blue, alongside images of star players like Vinicius Jr. and coach Carlo Ancelotti. The display also includes flags of the tournament's co-hosts, the United States, Canada and Mexico, reflecting the global nature of the event. Organisers say the tradition is about more than football, promoting unity, inclusion and community spirit.
There'll be a big screen and a party like always. If Brazil gets past the first round, I'll already be happy. But as Brazilians, we always believe and hope for the title.
I've been coming here since I was a child. Now the next generation is involved. It's important to keep this tradition alive.
Residents say the decorations bring energy and maybe even luck.
It's beautiful. They do this every World Cup. Hopefully it brings good luck because Brazil really needs another title.
Brazil last lifted the World Cup trophy in 2002 and hopes are once again rising, both on the pitch and in the streets.
World Cup fever alive and well in Brazil. Well, that brings us to the end of Prime Time. Please do join us again tomorrow for plenty more news and analysis. And from all of us here at A News, thanks for watching.